What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It's Friday, February 27th. This is a college basketball edition of the pod, as we really only have two big time college basketball weekends left this week and next week. And then I'll be on here after that talking about conference tournaments. We'll probably have several episodes on conference tournaments because there's so many. You guys split them up. And then, of course, the big dance. I'm planning some futures review, like a futures episode. I'm planning a systems episode because there's a lot of betting systems that I use that only come into play in the tournament, like based on seeding, based on like deficits, things like that, going from the round of 64 to round 32. Like there's so many great ones. So we're going to have an episode on that as well. So make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications so that whenever I drop a new episode, you will catch what's coming out. We're going to talk today about Friday, mainly just Michigan, Illinois, and then we're going to get into some plays that I like for Saturday. I'm going to give you my pick on Michigan, Illinois. It's been kind of a crazy week. It's like since Sunday of this week's 16-2 run right now in college basketball. I know some of you catch the shorts that I post here on YouTube and also over on TikTok, Instagram, X. Um, Yesterday I posted one from Michigan State, Purdue. We hit Michigan State outright plus 285. That was a nice hit. Also, if you're following me on the Action app, I logged that. That was a 2-unit play on Michigan State. So I logged that on the app. Make sure if you're not, there's a link down in the description. That's the Action app. It's totally free. It will give you a notification whenever I log a free pick. So if you want to follow me, or if you already have the Action app, just follow me on it. It's LC Sports. If you look up at LC Sports, you'll find me. Whenever I log a free pick, you get a little ping sent right to your phone. So yeah, it's been a good week, and let's see how the weekend treats us. I gotta say, one of the most important things when you're having a run like this, like when it rains, it pours type of run, is not to get greedy. Don't start upping your unit sizes. You're betting with the same edge you were betting, with when you were on a losing streak, right? So there's no reason to change anything that you're doing. Just stick to the plan, stay the course. It will turn back. It will swing back eventually, and we'll get some losing days in a row. But so far, this week's been a lot of fun. Michigan versus Illinois. All right, this is the game that obviously no, this is the biggest game of the weekend. It's a Friday night game, but it's bigger than any game we have on Saturday. These are essentially two top 5 teams in the country. And the story that you're going to get for this game across your social media feeds today is the bounce back spot for the home dog, right? Illinois +2 right now, plus maybe 1.5. That's going to be the move that a lot of cappers, a lot of touts like myself are going to jump to because they see the market go from 2 to 1.5, or they see, Illinois goes to UCLA, they lose outright on a buzzer beater in overtime. So assume this is the bounce back spot, right? I think that game, that Illinois UCLA game, said a lot about it, or gave us a little insight into this Illinois team. If you remember Illinois last season, now let me just preface this by saying I think this team is better than last year's. But last season they were very inconsistent. They could light you up and beat you by 31 game, and then they could lose by 20 the next game. They fixed that a little bit this year, where they're much more consistent night in, night out. But you have seen it rear its ugly head a little bit when they step up in competition. Remember, they have losses to Alabama. They have a loss to UConn. Now you add Michigan State. They lost to Wisconsin. I go back and look at their resume. They have one win over a top 10 ranked KenPom team, and that's Purdue. That's the team that I think is overrated that we just faded last night with success. So I'm not ready to just throw away what I saw last year from Illinois. They've now lost 3 out of their last 5 games. I think it's a concerning stretch. I think Michigan, despite the loss at Duke, I mean, I could go on and on about things that Michigan did really well in that game against Duke. I mean, they held Duke to 68 points. They just had a really bad shooting night, and you credit the Duke defense. They played really well, but Michigan had some turnovers. They had some bad shot selection, but overall, I wouldn't say that I came out of that game thinking, man, this team they're frauds now. Duke beat them. Like, I came out of it thinking if there's a rematch, Michigan's got them. So, I know they lost that game, then they beat Minnesota at home. They don't cover. I'm not worried at all about this Michigan team. I think they're better in most areas that you need to be better in to win big games like this. When you have two comparable offenses, right? You've got 2 top 5 offenses here. The defense is usually going to win out, and there's a pretty big gap. Michigan is the second rated KenPom defense. Illinois 31st. Similar numbers over at Torvik and Evan Mia as well. I think you have a coaching edge as well. I do like Brad Underwood, but he hasn't been great in these big games. Dusty May, since he's come to Michigan, he's had 7 games, conference games on the road, where the game's been lined at 1 possession or less. So 3-point spread or less, either way. He's 7-0 ATS in these games with Michigan, and the win margin is substantial. They're winning these games by 10 points on average, 10.2. So they're winning these games big. And when it's like when teams step up in competitions to size you up and see what's really good, Michigan comes through. Illinois, Brad Underwood in that same spot, but flip it at home, not on the road, at home. So he's home. Conference games, 3-point spread or less, 8-16 against the spread. Not as good. So, not nearly as good. The market could be, I think, overrating Illinois a little bit by only making this a 2-point spread. Now, if this was a 4-point spread, if this was like 4.5, 5, I'd be singing a completely different tune because remember, price is king. It's all about price. But man, at 2, at -1.5, at a cheap money line, if you can find like -140-ish or less on Michigan, don't love that as much. But I really like Michigan. I think Michigan wins the game. I laid 2. Just full transparency. I know you can get some 1.5s out there, but for my picks, for my subscribers on the paid service, I got to send what's widely available. So I sent out Michigan -2 this morning. So that's what I like. My line on this game is 4. So either way, I was going to play it. But I'm on Michigan -2 in this game. So it's a pretty interesting one. I think you could go either way with it, but I think you just got a much stronger overall argument, in my opinion, for the Michigan side. All right, let's go over to Saturday. I want to talk about a couple games on Saturday that I really like. Louisville at Clemson. This is a really interesting spot. Two teams coming off of a loss. Remember, Louisville just lost at North Carolina. Clemson has now lost 4 straight games. This is a team that was sitting pretty, having a really good season. Now they've really stumbled, and they've just gone through these horrific droughts on offense, which has really been their problem. They're a good defense, but and this is going to be a clash of styles, right? You got Clemson at home. They're going to be a dog. We don't have a line yet that I could see, but they're going to be a dog in this game. Likely a couple of points. I'm looking, if this is 3 or higher, I'll be in. But I'm likely going to be on Clemson in this game. A clash of styles, like I said, Louisville wants to play really fast, and they do that pretty well when they get a team on the opposite side that will play fast with them. But Clemson is going to really want to slow. I mean, this is one of the slowest teams in the country. So they're going to really want to slow the game down, really want to play in that half court style of basketball that they've excelled in for the last few years. I really think that like this has to be the bottom point for Clemson. How much worse can it get? You lose to Virginia Tech at home. You go to Duke, you get beat up. You go to, and those two are understandable. All right, let's say you have a little 2-game shot. The next two are inexcusable. Losing at Wake Forest and then losing to Florida State at home is a terrible loss. Terrible loss. So those 2 losses were brutal for Clemson, and this to me is the floor. You get this Louisville team at home. You're still a top 20 defense, Clemson. They can shoot the 3 really well. They play really well in the paint. They're the slowest team in the conference. They're going to want to play really fast. Louisville, one of the fastest teams in the conference. I think they are the fastest team in the conference. This, to me, the clash of styles, the fact that Clemson's at home, it's going to be a desperation spot. I think it's a great chance to buy low on a team that's got decent experience. They're good at home. They can slow the game down. And, Louisville, I know they're a good, to me, I understand they're a good offense. I don't like their style of play at all for big games late in the season or March or in the tournament. I'm going to be selling on Louisville in the tournament for sure. I don't like I don't like how they play defense. I think they play much too fast, a bit too sloppy with the turnovers. And they can get into that. Clemson can do that on defense. They can force you into bad turnovers. I think it's a good buy low spot for Clemson. If we get let me see what KenPom has this game at. We don't have a line yet. KenPom's got it at 1. I think 1 is too. If you give me a bucket, if I get 2 or more on Clemson, I'll be in. 1.5, I guess, might be what you see it open as, but I think this is a good opportunity here to buy Clemson low and take them outright in this game. The next one that we're going to talk about is Villanova at St. John's. Again, no lines. A little bit difficult doing this show, like I explained before, because you don't really have a lot of point spreads available for the games on Saturday. But we're doing what we can. The next one that we're going to look at is Villanova at St. John's. Very, very ugly loss for St. John's earlier this week at UConn. We were on UConn in that game. I thought it was a good opportunity to say, hey, UConn's lost 3 in a row to St. John's. They're at home. It's a big game for them, big spot. I laid 5 with UConn. I didn't, wasn't a huge play or anything. I just thought it was a good spot play, good value play. They won the game by 32 points. That I did not expect. That was insane. St. John's missed in the second half at one point 24 straight field goals. They did not score a field goal in the final 17 minutes of that game. Just unfathomable stuff. I mean, stuff that is just, it's so wild that it's obviously an outlier. It cannot happen again. And Rick Pitino is not really in this spot very often, right? I mean, the last time he's lost by 30 points or more, let's see, you got to go back to 2012. He's only lost by 30 points or more 2 times in his entire coaching career. He is 2-0 against the spread after those 2 losses. I got to think he's fired up here. I got to think he's going to be just relentless on his team after what we saw on Wednesday in that game. So I think this is a really good, it's a 5-point spread, 5.5. I think this is a shot to come in here and sell a little bit on Villanova, although I do like Villanova as a team. But I think this is more so about St. John's. This is the buy right now, St. John. And St. John's already beat Villanova on the road. So they took care of them on the road at Villanova. They won that game by 7 points. Now they're coming back home. Again, a bit of a clash of styles. Villanova's going to be playing a bit more slow. St. John's is going to want to run it up a little bit more. But the thing about St. John's is I love how they play defense. They're not your typical fast-paced team that just like wants to score, and they like take off a few possessions on defense. They never take off a possession on defense. They're relentless. They force turnovers. They're excellent on the offensive glass. So the energy effort thing that we see from St. John's, right? That's kind of their shtick under Pitino. After you lose a game by 30 points to a conference opponent, conference rival, and then, that's got to be the maximum spot for that to come through, right? That effort, like that style, that brand of basketball that they play. If there was ever going to be a time where it maxes out, it's going to be this spot after what we saw in that game. So I think you've got a good opportunity here at 5. I would say at 5 or better, -5 or better to lay the points with St. John's. That's the second one that I'm looking at on Saturday. How about Arkansas at Florida? This is a very interesting game. Florida played Texas earlier in the week. I was on them in that one. Okay, I laid 6.5 on the road. The line actually moved against me in that game, which is pretty interesting. But Florida ended up coming through with a late cover. They had a late run that pushed them over the edge, right? Now you have Arkansas coming in. Arkansas has been playing really well, and I really think, that this Arkansas team is a little bit. I can't really call them a sleeper because it's Coach Cal. It's Arkansas. They are top 20. They're a top 5 offense. But by sleeper, I mean like they can make a deeper run than even you would expect. Like I thinking like Final Four potential with this team is what I'm thinking. And one of the reasons why is Florida is going to try with their defense to disrupt you, to try to force you to make some bad pass turnovers. They're going to try to hurt you on the glass, right? They haven't really shot the 3 super well this year, but they're really good in the paint. They play fast. They play hard defense. Arkansas is a sneaky good matchup. They rebound okay. They're not great, but they are the number 1 team in the country in turnover rate. They protect the basketball. Getting Florida out of those opportunities where they can typically run, right? Breakaways, dunks, 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, stopping them from doing that. That's what pushed you just saw it in the game against Texas. Florida was basically trailing the whole game. And then like in the last few minutes, got one of those runs, a couple steals, a couple breakaway dunks, hit a 3, and it was over. They ended up winning the game going away. Arkansas prevents that. This is kind of like what I talked about yesterday with Michigan State Purdue in the short that I put up. It's like one team has a strength. Purdue's strength was killing you on the glass and highly efficient in a slow-paced offense. Michigan State is even better on the glass, so they can offset their biggest strength. I think Arkansas sneakily here can offset Florida's biggest defensive strength, because this is Florida plays. They're a great defense, but I think their biggest strength can be offset a little bit by how Arkansas plays offense. I do worry about the Arkansas defense on the other side, but you are looking at a big spread. This is going to be an 8. This game is lined right now at 8.5. So at anything 8 or better, I lean Arkansas in the game. And I just simply think they can put up enough points because the story with Florida lately, with how they've been winning their games, I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're on an 8-game winning streak. And the way they've been winning these games, 95 points, 100 points, 86, 86, 92, 94, 84. It's basically, can you keep up? And most of the teams that they've played, Georgia, A&M, Kentucky, South Carolina, they just haven't been able to keep up. Texas kept up for a long time, but then couldn't in the end. I think Arkansas can keep up for sustained 40 minutes of good offensive play, protecting the basketball, getting good shots. It's going to be a tough road environment, but this is a game where I certainly would lean to the dog, getting plus 8.5 with Arkansas. Coach Cal also has a great career record as an underdog. Heavy lean to Arkansas in the game. I will likely be on it when I finalize my Saturday card later on tonight. So take a look at Arkansas taking on Florida. I know it's kind of not everybody wants to get in front of the steamroller that like it looks like Florida with their long winning streak, but it's all about price, right? It's all about the price. All right, last one I want to look at in depth is BYU at West Virginia, and this one's really simple to me. I want to buy teams when they come off of these ugly, gross losses, okay? BYU laying double digits at home to UCF right after they knocked off Iowa State. And then they lose this game outright. And not only do they lose it, I mean, UCF beat them pretty handily. It wasn't really it wasn't really a close game for much of it. But I really want to come in now and buy. And they gave up 97 points. And I'm not gonna pretend like this BYU defense is not problematic, because it is. It's not one of the, it's not the best defense, not exactly one that I want to run to back. But in this particular matchup, I think it's very, very beneficial to try and back them in this game. One of the reasons why is West Virginia is really, really bad. I mean, the numbers don't even do it justice. I've watched a lot of their games. I've faded them. I've bet on them in a couple of them. This is a putrid offense. Putrid. All right. And they just went on the road to Oklahoma State. I was on Oklahoma State in that game. Again, so it's been a crazy week, a lot of winners. It went to overtime. West Virginia played very well offensively, 84 points on the road. Not a great defense in Oklahoma State, but still. But now I want to sell, like, West Virginia. When's the last time they put together back-to-back good offensive games? You can't find it. Go down their schedule. You literally cannot find 2 games in a row where they score more than like 70 points. Anytime they score 80 or 70, they follow it up with like a 55, a 60, a 58. This is a very inconsistent in conference play. Ooh, it's ugly. They're last in turnover. They're last in 3-point percentage. They're last in free throw percentage. They're 15th out of 16 teams in offense, just overall offensive efficiency. This is a putrid offense. So, they play good defense, but BYU can score with anybody. DeBansa, I think this is a big game for him. So I'm getting a top 10 offense. And yes, a team that's not great defensively in BYU, but if there was ever a spot where you're going to stifle the other team, this is the spot. Because West Virginia is very, very, like I said, I've watched. The numbers don't do it justice. They're slow. They try to move the ball. They don't get good shots. They waste a lot of the shot clock. Lots of shot clock, turnovers. Just ugly. So I think a buy low on BYU. And there's a system here attached as well. Let me pull up the system for you guys. But for sure, buy low on the BYU bounce back. The defense is a little bit concerning, but I think they have a good matchup. Now, let me give you the system on this game because it was one that stood out to me. I really liked it. It is Power 5 conference teams that are coming off of a loss outright as a double-digit favorite. I love this one. Just look at the last 3 seasons alone. 39 and 21 in the next game against the spread. That's 65%. And this is specifically for the second half of the season, when they're on the road after a loss outright as a double-digit favorite. So that's active on BYU. Really, really like it. The system's been crushing it this season too. Definitely. We don't know what the spread's going to be. I'm projecting around, I'm going to say this is going to be 3.5. If anything less than that, or if West Virginia takes some sharp action, because a lot of times these small home dogs will take sharp action, I will jump to bet BYU myself. So those are the main ones. So Michigan tonight, I want to look to back Clemson as a home dog on Saturday. I want to look to buy and lay the points with St. John's against Villanova. I want to look to bet Arkansas as a dog. I'll list these so you guys have them. And I want to look to bet BYU as very likely a small road favorite. So keep these in mind. As always, guys, it comes down to price. I know it's annoying when I say that because the average person doesn't price games, but I do. I do this for a living. It's my full-time job. So I do price these games. And I just want to emphasize that, like, it's always about price. You have to understand key numbers in basketball are 3, 2, and 5, the main ones, and then 7, 6. But, just be weary of it. Like, all right, maybe BYU opens 4.5. That's two possessions, right? Maybe I don't want to play that. Maybe I want to wait. Do I get a 3? Stuff like that. Just always be weary about getting the best price, shopping for the best line. Um, Arkansas was the other one, yeah, and BYU. So, and then I'll give you some leans as well. I wrote down a couple leans. Texas Tech and Iowa State. I think Iowa State at anything less than 8 per my projections. I don't know what that line is. I think I saw 7.5. Anything less than 8, I would look to lay the points with Iowa State because I think this is finally a game where the top end loss for Texas Tech could really show. So be careful with that. Texas Tech is going to be probably a trendy dog because they've been playing really well. They shoot the very high variance team from 3. Iowa State will absolutely stifle you defensively, especially at home. Very few teams go in there and get a win. So I would lay the points Iowa State. Take a look at Virginia versus Duke and see where that line goes. I know it was 9.5. You know what? Let me check really quick. I know the line was 9.5, and I know it sounds crazy. I kind of like the matchup for Virginia in that game against Duke, and we're just simply talking about price here. But I think if you somehow were to get to a double dip, let me see where this line is at. Yeah, it's only available YC1 at DraftKings 9.5. When this opens up and becomes widely available, if Duke gets bought up to double digits, I'll look to maybe sprinkle Virginia. Virginia at 10 or better, I think, is a solid because they play so slow. They're very good offensively. They're going to slow it down. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to play careful. They're going to play very hard defense. They're going to make their free throws. There's a lot to like about certain teams that are getting a lot of points, right? Because it's all about, once we get to this time of year, it becomes a lot about obviously price, but team profiles. Like, how do they, in the tournament, they'll remember, like, there's a specific system for, like, which we'll get into in the systems episode of the podcast, but like there's one for slow paced underdogs in the tournament. Do they play really slow? Are they getting more than 6 points? They cover like over 60% of the time. So team profiles, understanding matchups. I think Virginia, who plays very slow, this is going to be like a Super Bowl type game for them when they're going at Duke. I think it could be a good spot to back them. The last one I'll say is Virginia Tech at UNC. Not super strong on this one as much as the others, but one thing that I want to say is UNC is going to be favored in the game. So you're going to have Virginia Tech as a road dog, and they are perfect this season. They're 8-0 against the spread as a road dog this season with several outright wins. So keep an eye on that one as well. Plus you've got UNC coming off of the outright win at home as a dog to Louisville. So, no line yet for this game, but let's see what KenPom projects for Virginia Tech Virginia Tech versus North Carolina. He's got it at 9. Man, I think that's a big spread. Virginia Tech can score the basketball, man. They're not super great defensively, but they've been better in conference play. They're shooting 36% from 3 in conference play. The defense has been elevated a little bit in these games, which is why they're covering a lot on the road. I'm not gonna say outright winner or anything like that, but I think, man, if you get a 9, if you get a 10 in this game, we'll have to see where it opens again. It's always, but I would look to back Virginia Tech. But really, the other ones that I gave you are the ones that I'm stronger on in terms of leans. I would look at Iowa State and I would look at Virginia as a dog on the road at Duke. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this episode. I know I'm a little all over the place. I'm trying to organize. It's when we do the football podcast, it's so much simpler. It's like, you're going to get 12, 13, 14 games, maybe early in the season, 16 games. You can organize everything so much more. We got 100 damn games. Like, I'm trying to isolate it to like the top 25 ranked games. So the games that I know you guys are going to want to watch, going to want to bet on. There's other games out there with value as well, but I try to kind of condense it as much as I can. So this will be the episode for this weekend. Next week, I will have another episode for the final regular season weekend. So make sure you subscribe, put on notifications for that. And then after that, guys, as soon as the season ends, I will come on here and I will talk about the conference tournaments, which teams I think you can, we always sprinkle some conference tournament futures. And then as we go through the conference tournaments, I'll have videos on certain games. So make sure you check out the shorts, because I'll put those up if I don't, don't do a full pod. And then once the bracket is set, we're diving in. We're going to go in. Systems, seeding, all that stuff. We'll talk about everything. Sleepers, Cinderellas, all that good stuff is coming. So make sure you stay in touch. Subscribe. Let me know down below what you think about this weekend. I gave you my picks. They're listed here. You let me know what you guys think. And thanks for watching as always. See you next time.